Beep, beep. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this thing that we like to call Movie Mondays with Matt on the Northern News Now Plus app. I'm your host, whether you like it or not, Matt Rasmussen, a.k.a. the King of Halloween, a.k.a. morning director, a.k.a. local filmmaker, a.k.a. host of Movie Mondays with Matt here on the TV on the morning show. Let me get out of this skin here so you can actually see what I look like. I'm sure you can't hear me that well, neither. Gets a little hot in those dinos. Well, good morning, everybody. Let's get a little bit tighter here on this shot. Just a second. Zoom in a little bit. There, that's better. Just wanted to show you guys my little T-Rex costume that I got together this morning. I know it was quite the shock on the morning team, so that's good. We like to keep everyone guessing what's going to happen next on this segment. Welcome to this thing called Movie Mondays with Matt Plus, once again. So we're going to talk about The Land Before Time this morning, and the reason I chose The Land Before Time as my flick of the week is because it recently came back to the big screen. It's part of Marcus Cinemas. Like, they've got a whole line of kids films that'll be showing throughout the winter here over the coming weeks, and a lot of them are like more modern day ones. There's a whole lineup, and a lot of them really didn't interest me, honestly. There's like the Minecraft movie and the new Smurfs and the new How to Train Your Dragon and Minions and, you know, more modern ones, but there's one that stuck out in particular, and it's this one. This is the only retro release in their lineup, and it's The Land Before Time, which is one of the greatest films of all time. And if you grew up in the 80s and the 90s like me, you have a deep connection with The Land Before Time. It's a movie that really speaks to you. Not so much the sequels, but the original one for sure. So we're going to get a little heavier into the entire franchise in just a bit. Also, my T-Rex costume, I brought that in because it had been laying around for a while, and that seemed to fit because there are no human beings in this movie. So that's the origin of that. So let's take a quick look at our box office numbers, and then we'll get a little more heavy into The Land Before Time and its entire franchise. So let me pop up our video here, and here we go. Joink. Mike's, all right, Mike's is up. So number 5, Dracula debuted in 5th place, grossing $4.5 million. I'm going to be talking about this one more in the future. Pretty excited. Then Stray Kids, The Dominate Experience, not sure why there's a hyphen in there, made $5.6 million, opening at number 4. Okay, then Iron Lung, this is a very exciting one, took 3rd place with $6.7 million, giving this $3 million indie film a domestic total of $31.4 million. Just good for him. Congrats all around. Then Solo Mio, about an American left at the altar in Rome, earned $7.2 million to debut in 2nd place. Then lastly, the horror comedy Send Help, this one right here that you're seeing, debuted in 1st place with $10 million to keep this weekend crown. And, well, it didn't debut, this is the next weekend. So Send Help, the Sam Raimi movie, which I'm very excited for because Sam Raimi got his start in indie horror with The Evil Dead, one of my all-time favorite movies. All right, video timed out here. Joink, back on camera. So, there's your box office lineup. So, let's talk a little bit about The Land Before Time. So, what is there to say about this movie? It's one of the greatest movies of all time. It came out in 1988, and it is produced by Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, you know, that sci-fi guy who makes all those sci-fi movies. Those two teamed up and decided to work on this. And it wasn't their first effort together either. This is not the first or last time either that Steven Spielberg would be dealing with dinosaurs in a project. He started this animated run with Don Bluth. Don Bluth is the director who did a lot of amazing work in the 90s. You'll definitely recognize some of his works. long before Pixar came along, and that became the standard for animation. Don Bluth was the standard for animation before all of that amazing stuff. So they started with An American Tail, the Feifel story, and that was a huge success. And then they worked together on this, which they refer to as Bambi meets dinosaurs. And that does seem to fit, as there's a lot of tear-jerking moments in this first movie. And so they teamed up, and this film is so amazing. It is not just does it tug at your heartstrings, the voice animation is perfect. It's spotless. It's so authentic. They get actual children to do the voice of all these characters. Quick sidebar, let me introduce you to the characters in case you're not familiar with the 14 different films and television series. So over here, first and foremost, we have Littlefoot. He's the long neck. He's the star of every one of these movies. He's kind of the leader of the group. Then he meets up with Sarah, the three-horn. She's pretty stubborn, stuck in her own ways, causes a lot of trouble. She's a glass half empty type. Then we have Ducky, the big mouth, aka the swimmer, as they're referred to from time to time. She's the complete opposite. She is very happy-go-lucky, just positive, bubbly, the whole thing. Love Ducky. Ducky always says, "Yup, yup, yup," which is a phrase that lives rent-free in my head. Especially, and any of you 80s, 90s kids will know that as well. Next we have Spike. He is a spike-tail, and Spike doesn't speak. I think maybe they had him like grunt and groan a couple of lines in some of the further sequels, but for the most part, Spike just follows them around, and he's just happy to be included in their little gang. And their little gang is all about love and togetherness and inclusiveness, so that's a cute little life lesson for kids at that age as well. Next we have Petrie, the flyer, and he refers to himself in the third person a lot, or the first person, and he's just a cute, fun little character. He has a whole arc where he's not ready to fly yet. He's a little too nervous to fly. And they keep trying to urge him to fly, and then when it matters at the end, he's able to do it to help his friends in the end. And then lastly, we have Sharptooth. That's kind of what my costume is here in the long run. I am Sharptooth. He's the big bad of this movie. He's pursuing them throughout. He's horrifying. In fact, he's so horrifying that they had to re-edit the film. They had to take out a lot of action with him because of how terrifying he was, and Spielberg said, "Oof, I went a little overboard with this movie. I don't want kids crying in the lobby of my movie." So they actually had to go out and take some stuff out. They had some POV views of the Tyrannosaurus Rex coming at them and all kinds of scary stuff. That's the setup to the characters here. Let me tell you about the story. So as it begins, it's kind of the start of time. And a narrator introduces us to, here it is, it's the start of time, and we see little organisms like swimming around, and then we're introduced to Littlefoot. Littlefoot is hatched, and he starts to meet these other characters in a bit. He meets them in this order, and then a great earth shake happens and splits the earth up, and he's separated from his family, as are the rest of these little baby dinosaurs. They're all separated from their families, and they have to come together and work together to make it to the Great Valley. That's where they were all migrating to before everything happened. And they learn a lot of life lessons along the way. And in the end, everything turns out all right. And then they have Sharptooth there. Things don't really turn out too well for him in the end. Oh, by the way, the toys here are the Pizza Hut hand puppets that came out to promote the film in 1988. These are the original ones. Very proud of these. This is the first time I saw a promotion like this being done through Pizza Hut. And happy National Pizza Day today, by the way. I was going to try to tie those two things together in my intro on the TV this morning and talk about pizza and Pizza Hut and Book It and puppets and all that stuff, but I'm sure this whole thing was distracting and it wouldn't have made any sense anyway, so I kind of forewent the whole pizza talk, but we can talk about that now. Pizza Hut had a partnership with this film, and one of my earliest core memories as a child was seeing these Pizza Hut commercials promoting The Land Before Time. Mainly it was for the home video release because they released the first 4 figures for the movie itself coming to theaters, and then they brought them back and released the last 2 for the home video release. And that's what I always remember is that particular commercial. And just, what a magical thing. And then let me get into the Book It program real quick. This is something I'm excited to talk about. Hopefully some of you guys remember the Book It program from back in the 90s. It was to encourage kids to read, and it gave them a little prize at the end if they got the chance to, you know, fulfill everything that they were shooting for. So first and foremost, you got a purple button that said Book It on there, a cute little like reflecty button. And then every time you read a book that was approved by your folks and you got all the way to the end, you'd get a little sticker put on your Book It pin. And you know, it had to be approved by your teacher as well. And then once that was done, you'd get, I think it was 5 or 6 different stickers you needed to have put on your pin in those little placeholders. And once you got all the way to the end, you brought this Book It pin with you to Pizza Hut, and they on the spot they would give you your own little personal pen pizza, a fun little reward for being able to like read and prove that you did it all by yourself. And it's such an amazing I hope they do something like this still, to entice kids to read, and then you get rewarded at the end. And there's no feeling like getting your own little personal pan pizza after you've earned it. You've done your job, and everyone's happy. The kids are happy, the adults are happy. You've learned something. You know, it's an all-around good program. So yay on Book It. I participated in that back in the day as well, little sidebar. And this was around the time that another Steven Spielberg movie was coming out at the time. It was Fievel Goes West, which was An American Tail 2. And I'll never forget, I finished my Book It pen, I brought it in, and they gave me a personal pan pizza, and the cute little box that it came in had Fievel on it. It said Fievel Goes West on it, and it was like the coolest little thing. Such a reward. I think it's one of the first times I can remember like doing a job, seeing it through to the end, and then getting rewarded and just feeling a sense of accomplishment as a kid. Yay on you, Book It and Pizza Hut. So look back on those memories today for National Pizza Day. So that's the little sidebar. We're going to get back into The Land Before Time here. So let's talk a little bit more about the story of The Land Before Time. This is a pretty dark movie overall. I'm kind of curious to see what scenes were actually taken out and what things were edited down, because this movie's kind of heavy as is. And that does seem to be a staple with Spielberg and his kids' properties. So it deals with really heavy issues such as death and grief and loss and being able to move on, and then like after death, like what is beyond that, what's on the other side. Like it's really heavy for an animated dinosaur movie for kids. So I'd say it's a little heavier than Bambi, honestly. So it's something that was difficult to process as a kid, especially the most heartbreaking moment towards the beginning of the film where Littlefoot, he's going through everything that's, the plot is starting to happen. Sharptooth is attacking Littlefoot's mom, and she rescues him, saves the day, and she's a little beat up in the battle with Sharptooth, and then the earth starts splitting apart, and Littlefoot's mom gets gravely injured and just can't handle it anymore, and she's just laying there. And she's slowly expiring, and she's telling Littlefoot, I believe in you, you can do this, I'll always be with you. And he's like, what do you mean you'll always be with me? You'll be with me when we go to, and it's, he's confused, he doesn't know what's happening. As a child, I didn't know what was happening. And then she passes away, and it's like the most traumatic little moment that, as a kid you don't really understand, but you knew that something was happening, something that you needed to pay attention to. And the whole movie kind of feels that way. There's deeper themes throughout this movie, and it's stuff that is kind of heavy for a kid's movie, but it makes sense at the end of the day, and it turns this movie into a film. I'd say all the sequels are just movies. They're cute little movies. This one has some real depth to it. This one is a film. And this is the only one that was theatrically released as well. So definitely check this one out if you haven't. I mean, how can you go wrong with Spielberg and Don Bluth? Don Bluth did a lot of other stuff. He did like We're Back, The Dinosaur Story, and Rock-a-Doodle, and just these 90s animated staples. Great movie. What we're going to do here, wow, I went long on this one. We're going to run to break here for just a minute. When we come back, I'm going to talk more about the extended franchise. Remember, there are 13 sequels in this franchise and a television series, and then there's some other properties we can talk about a little bit as well. So, we're going to toss to break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about The Land Before Time 2 through 14. Yay! We'll see you guys in just a minute. Joink!